Time now for Inside Utah Politics with Lindsay Ertz.
Well, welcome on in today. Thank you for joining us. I am Lindsay Ertz. That's Taylor Morgan and Leah Murray, my fine political analysts today. Hi, guys.
Hello.
It is good to be with you. This is our free TV streaming show. So if you stream anywhere, Amazon Fire, Roku, Apple TV, that is where you can find the show. Tell your friends about us because we think we're kind of cool.
Absolutely. People aren't paying for this.
We know we're cool.
We're very cool.
We are very cool.
For sure. Although, let me just say that we are all good friends here. We are going to get into some spicy political topics today.
Yep.
It may appear as if we're fighting, but at the end of the day, we're all very good friends.
We're very good friends.
What is this whole disclaimer?
Every now and then, I feel like I need to issue the
say that?
disclaimer.
Okay.
Disclaimer that we love each other.
We want to model disagreeing, but in a constructive way.
Disagreeing
But we still
better.
like to fight just to fight. Just
Also,
like,
I need to make an announcement. I got an iPhone.
It's about time.
You guys don't even realize how persecuted I was in the group chat.
Persecuted.
It's not called persecution. It's called help.
It's an
I was
intervention.
persecuted,
Yeah,
and the
It was an
sole
intervention.
reason I got this iPhone was because these two and our other political analysts harassed me all the time in our group chat, and I finally caved.
Now we need to harass Peter.
And now I'm slow, and I don't know where anything is on my phone.
But it
and I
works so much better.
I can't even
So
take a screenshot. But yay, my bubbles are green,
Blue.
blue, whatever.
Yeah, blue bubbles.
So happy.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
My
Everybody.
monthly
Yeah.
bill is higher.
Listen, legislators will actually respond to you now for interviews. People will take you seriously. You're obviously the best political journalist in the state of Utah, no question about that. But now people will actually really take you seriously.
Take me seriously.
Because they don't get a green text from you.
Well,
it's all about the phone.
I feel like this is like a whole new world to me, and I'm like very excited, and everyone's like, cool, welcome to 2006.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, like a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm
So
like,
happy for you.
I can't believe I got an iPhone. I've never owned an Apple product, so I just feel like it needs to be
I don't
said.
even know how that's possible.
How is that? You never owned any?
No,
Like you don't have an
Nope,
iPad?
I don't have a Mac. I don't have an iPad. I use all Google or Samsung products.
Oh,
I just that's how I started, and I never changed. All right, enough about me. Let's dive into our topic, shall
Welcome
we?
to happiness.
Well, welcome to. This is why I'm not tweeting right now because I don't know how yet. I need to figure out my new phone. All right, I want to dive into Utah's gambling laws. You guys might remember last week, Attorney General Derek Brown celebrating a big win in his lawsuit. Utah was sued by Kalshi, and essentially a federal judge came back and said, hey, prediction markets that claim to be regulated by the federal government as commodities, your federal laws don't shield Utah's state laws. When Utah puts in place an anti-gambling law, they can enforce that, and just because you're regulated by the federal government doesn't mean Utah can't enforce its own state laws. So Utah's touting that as a win, but I sat with Attorney General Derek Brown last week and kind of asked him, like, how are we going to enforce that? So Laura, if we can play that clip, and then guys, I'll get your reaction to it. And I hear you that it's impacting people, and I hear you that you want to enforce state laws, but the question is, how do you do that? How are you able to do that?
Well, there are statutes that make it very clear you can't engage in gambling in Utah. So what that looks like,
So
now
do you
that
go
remains
after
to be seen.
individual users? Are you checking people's like IP addresses? Like, what does it look like?
Right now, no, we're looking at options, though. I mean, we're certainly looking at what is it that can be done, because the reality is if you were to set up a craps table, you know, in downtown Salt Lake City, it would obviously, everybody would agree, okay, that's a violation of state law, and there are remedies under state law for that kind of behavior.
Right,
so
but I'm
does that apply to this kind of behavior? I certainly think it does. Now, what does that look like?
Yeah, because
I can't really go there at this point because this is brand new. I mean, we just realized that we have the ability under state law to enforce these laws.
But
and
you
so
can't
what does it
tell
look
me-
like? We'll see.
Okay, so essentially he couldn't tell me how he was going to do that.
But I also love, like, earlier in the show, he's like, can you just let me have the win first, Lindsay?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Before you, like, harass me
Goodness
about
gracious,
this.
Lindsay.
And a little, I was like,
No, because it begs the question.
No, the man just won a landmark lawsuit on behalf of the state of Utah, and you're grilling him on what he's doing in a couple months. I mean, Lindsay,
This was like 2 days later.
this is Derek Brown. This is the most handsome, kindest attorney general in the nation. He's got a little more gray hair, though, since he took office. Sorry, Derek. I think it means he's only working very, very hard.
He's doing just fine.
Big deal. But in all seriousness, I think he is being transparent and direct with you and trying to answer and say, we don't know yet. We got to figure this out. We're not quite sure how to go about doing this. It's complicated because we're talking about online gambling, right? Using web, using apps. People, can get a VPN. There's a lot of different complications involved with this. I still think the win is significant here, the lawsuit. It does help protect Utahns, and now it's in the legislature's hands to work with Attorney General Brown's office to figure out the details.
Yeah, because Leah, part of what I was asking him too is, does Kalshi go dark in Utah? That happened with Pornhub. I mean, it's different circumstances, but Pornhub essentially went dark in Utah, yanked their website from Utah IP addresses.
I wouldn't know either way.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel.
I only know that because Taylor told me.
I know nothing about Pornhub. I'm just gonna
what should this look like?
Well, it's similar though because it is illegal to do so, but Utahns could use a VPN, right, to hide their location, mask it, redirect it. There's all different ways to essentially gamble illegally here in Utah, even if it is illegal. And we have to be realistic. We're not going to be able to prevent it entirely. We just have to figure out the best approach.
Right. I think the most interesting part of this is the federalism kind of case that he made, right? Which is that actually the federal government can be fine with gambling, which, by the way, I am not fine with gambling, and there are a lot of issues. Attorney General Brown talked in that show, and a different part of it, right, Lindsay, about how his son got a message about how they could bet. My child is 16, a son also gets messages like this. So they are clearly... that's predatory behavior, right? They're going after young men. We are aware about how gambling really is damaging. I know a lot of student athletes, like gambling is hard in the student athlete community. Gambling is hard on young men. So a little bit, it's like now we have permission, right? Like we've acknowledged that the Constitution says we can actually regulate this. So Taylor's right. Like the legislature's got to figure out the code and what the punishments look like and what that is. I'm just happy that we can actually make this move and just, I don't know, let Vegas, let all their young men get all the gambling, but a little bit that we can make a move to protect our kids.
Well, I was only pushing for answers because I felt like I wasn't getting specifics. And I guess what he was trying to say is we don't know yet. Yeah. And he got mad at me that I asked him the same question 4 times, but I was pushing for
it
for
is
specifics.
the legislature's job. It's the legislature's job, right, to work with him to actually create the policy and the laws now to follow the ruling.
Right, but if our law already says, you can't gamble, and then essentially this is gambling, I mean, we may have some challenges over that. Then the question is, what does he do to enforce that?
The other thing I thought was interesting, the example that he used, which was like, 1920 gambling in like the streets of Salt Lake City. A little bit, and the same thing was true for Pornhub, right? Like the conversation used to be like, there were parts of the video store, right? That was like young people can't go behind these doors. And now in an online setting, all of those rules or the norms of how you regulated these things don't really apply. And a little bit, there's some work to do to figure out how do you manage this in this online space.
Yeah, and it may be different for Kalshi versus Polymarket versus the other ones, right? They may have different needs there in order to enforce the law. So we shall see how that all plays out. Okay, let's talk about another topic that's a little bit national and a little bit Utah adjacent, and that is a former jazzman, Enes Kanter, who has now officially declared for the NBA draft. I'm seeing this bubble up. WNBA draft. Thank you. A key distinction. Thank you. What he's doing essentially here is challenging the WNBA over their transgender policies. So he signed a letter effectively declaring for the WNBA draft. He's kind of calling out the WNBA for what he says is a lack of a policy that anyone can play because they sort of base their policy on inclusion. And so he's saying, well, I identify and I declare. So what do you guys make of this? I mean, clearly it's gotten a lot of social media reaction, a lot of strong feelings on this one. Leah, let me start with you. What do you make of Kanter's moves here?
I feel like he's someone in need of some attention. So I'm just going to say, what is the point, right? Like, I look to see the WNBA does not have any trans women playing in it. So maybe he was trying to make a claim about, right, trans athletes, but that's not in play. So I'm not really sure what he's doing. I feel like he's a name I actually haven't heard. So like people were saying he's a huge NBA star, and I'm like, dude, I watch sports.
I wouldn't say huge.
He's not a huge star. This is a guy who probably didn't play well in the NBA. I don't know. And is now looking for attention and doing it on the backs of an organization that's finally getting maybe the attention it deserves after being around for 30 years. So what I make of this is like, okay. Like, what is he doing?
Taylor, do you think this is an appropriate way to have a policy conversation here or a rules conversation?
So I believe he is sincere. I think that he has been an advocate for women's sports in this way for years. So this isn't new. I think he is jumping in at a particularly interesting, controversial time. Of course, perhaps there's some desire to get attention. I get that. I think that's fine. I don't think that's his primary motivation here. And I do.
You think he legitimately wants to play in the WNBA?
Well, no. And I think he's making a point here about the purpose of the WNBA. Now, I've really been thinking a lot about this over the last week. We've had some conversations over text, really kind of dissecting this, sharing some thoughts and opinions. And I've tried to think this through very carefully. And clearly I have a bias here, right? I am a white, straight Mormon dude in Utah, right? So I have a
Republican.
I have and a Republican. Well, of course,
all those things apply.
Right? Anyway,
And breathing and heartbeat. Yeah.
And I do have a big truck. And I do have a boat. Anyway,
and a gun.
But the point is, it's not about identity politics for me. Truly, I have no problem with folks who are transgender, and I want to support them, and I would consider myself an ally. However, for me, this is not about them. It is about the WNBA and about the politics of the WNBA and the choices it is making. Now, the WNBA, presumably, the purpose of its existence, right, is to provide a professional league for women to play basketball.
Which is what it does.
Which is what it does, right? That is its specialty. In my opinion, the WNBA has abandoned that business model and that value in order to score political points.
For what? But can you define for me what abandon means?
Okay, by allowing transgender individuals, allowing men, right, who identify as women,
except
to
they
play
haven't.
in the
They
WNBA.
don't play in the WNBA.
Not yet, but the WNBA has taken a position that they will allow anyone, regardless of gender at birth, they will allow anyone to play in the WNBA based on personal identity, right? That's the issue for me. The WNBA has abandoned the entire purpose of its existence, right? If they now allow transgender men or men who have transitioned to women to play in the WNBA, they are no longer serving the purpose of their existence.
But I think you're getting at the crux of the transgender issue in general, which is if you identify as a woman, are you a woman?
But
that is the question.
But it's more than
I think
identity.
That is a separate political discussion. It's a separate political discussion. The WNBA is injecting politics into their business model in a way that is totally undermining the product that they're trying to sell to people, right? The purpose of the WNBA is to be a women's league, right? And if they are now opening that up to say we are no longer just a women's league, and we allow men who identify as women to play in our league.
It's more than just men who identify.
It undermines their product, right?
But so what are we talking about? Enes
Basketball.
Kanter is going to go through, right, hormone therapy, right, is going to get surgery.
Well, according to the WNBA's
it's not just
new
identifying.
Policy, according to the WNBA's new policy, he just has to declare. He has to say, I declare that I identify as a woman. That is what he's trying to draw attention to. Others are in the
So when he
space as
declared
well.
he identified as a woman.
Yes, that's what the WNBA's new policy
Right,
says.
but when he did that, he said that. So he's now going to move through the world as a woman?
That was his statement. I for the purposes of playing professional basketball, I now identify as a woman.
Right, but he doesn't, right? So
I
right
know,
there.
Right. But he's trying to draw attention to this new policy by the WNBA, pointing out how ridiculous it is. That's what he's trying to do. And I believe that is a separate issue from supporting folks who are transgender. I really do.
So you're saying the WNBA needs a policy in order to address what Enes is trying.
The WNBA proactively created this all-inclusive policy themselves. That is the issue. That is what Kanter and others are drawing attention to.
Okay, so they need a different policy that you like, is what you're saying.
No. They just need to eliminate their policy of including anyone based on identification. That is what's changed. The WNBA is the entity that created a new position of this all-encompassing inclusivity just based on gender identity, right? That's new from the WNBA.
Okay.
That is what the criticism, that's what what people are trying to draw attention to, is this ridiculous new policy by the WNBA.
So Leah, do you see it as the WNBA needs to tighten up that policy, or is that a policy that they are allowed to take as a professional organization? I mean, if you think of it, take it out of the WNBA and say NFL. Can the NFL ban women from competing? I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about.
And the NBA doesn't either.
Do we need a policy that
right
says
now
that?
preventing a woman from getting drafted or trying out for an NBA team and playing in the NBA. Nothing, right? And so now if the WNBA is saying, oh, it doesn't matter what your gender is, if you just identify as a woman, you can play in the WNBA. If that's the case, why do we need a women's professional league at all? Why not just have the NBA?
Or everything could just be co-ed.
Exactly.
I mean, a little bit, I think. I'm not sure I agree with Taylor's read on it, but I'm not sure he's wrong. I think the world of sport is making decisions about how to manage trans athletes. And generally there is something about what the hormones register as, how early you have been committed to this identity, if there's surgery in play. Like, I think there are other what's the word I'm looking for? Metrics. I don't think the world of sports says, Enes Kanter decides this morning, now he's a girl. He gets to now, like, the point is, if you are committed to that.
And that's exactly why he's doing it, Leah. And sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
That is the whole purpose of his engagement. Why he's doing it is because of the fact that WNBA doesn't have any of those metrics or guidelines in place.
And then the other thing I would say is the fact is they don't have the issue yet. So a little bit, you could write a policy that says we really haven't had any men trying to try out for the WNBA. So we have a policy that says we're super inclusive because we're kind of nice people. And then when someone like Enes Kanter does this, you go, oh, there's a bad faith actor in this whole environment that we've been trying to manage, this very hot political topic, trying to be welcoming to all of the people. And now that we have this person doing this, maybe now we have to write a policy. But a little bit, it's like not his job.
No,
so like it's not his role to do that.
The WNBA is overtly political here for no reason.
Maybe you're both
Focus
right.
on basketball. Focus on being the best professional league, right? With the most attendance, with the best athletes, with the most sponsorships possible. Focus on that. Focus on trying to pay your players as much as possible so you get the best talent possible. Instead, the WNBA, in my opinion, over the last few years, has decided to be overtly political in a way that undermines their
They
business
see
model.
it as inclusion. They don't see it as trying to be political.
Or they're fine being overtly political and no one noticed 3 years ago because no one was paying attention.
Maybe.
Now that it actually is a hot commodity, all of a sudden it is something that Enes Kanter can use to get clicks for his name. I appreciate what you're saying, that maybe he cares about women's sports, but again, it's not his job to do this. This is a conversation for Sophie Cunningham. Right? Like there are women in that sport who have opinions on this particular policy you're talking about. They are talking about it in a very, I think, appropriate way, right? To push this issue in the industry they work in. Him doing it is not okay.
And maybe you're both right. Maybe the WNBA needs a stronger policy and Enes shouldn't do this.
Yes.
Right? You're both
Just
right.
focus on basketball. Right?
Yeah?
Okay, enough said.
That's where we land on the topic. As always, we always leave here, friends, and we appreciate the discussion. One final topic I want to hit before we leave, bringing it back to Utah, and you guys might have to help me through this one because I'm going to be frank here. I don't know what the heck
Can I be Taylor?
Sure, dad
Classic
jokes. Dad jokes.
Cannot
I want to be
resist that.
quantum. Can that be?
Yeah,
No,
my
sorry.
7-year-old does that all the time. I'm hungry. Hi, hungry. I'm Oliver. I don't know what the heck quantum technology is. I'm going to be honest. Like I had
feels
to
like
Google
it's from
it.
Something
Avengers.
from the Avengers. yeah,
And I
exactly.
feel like it's like Quantum Leap. Remember that show that where like
Oh, I
Sam,
totally
that
do.
Sam guy like
Back in the
jumped back
1900s.
jumped
and
back
he jumps
forth.
into people's lives.
Nerd alert.
And solves problems.
So
Sorry.
Utah wants more quantum technology. Apparently,
What is quantum technology?
it's a good question. Apparently, it's computing beyond what computers can do.
Quantum AI. Okay. Now I know we're talking. Actually, I do know.
Yeah.
I read
Okay.
about
So
that.
what is it, Taylor, and why does Utah need more of it? Because the governor has come out with an executive order basically creating a quantum council within his governor's office of economic
Well done,
development.
Governor Cox. That is a great name.
The
for
Quantum
the
Council.
Quantum Council.
It does sound like
man.
Avengers.
How do I get on that council? That's what I want to know. Well, I think this is very buzzwordy, very tech bro-y. Look, I don't think we're getting any more quantum technology if we're not willing to build data centers. I think that's first and foremost, right? Essentially, quantum technology is the next level of computing with AI involved. We're talking about almost a humanoid, an advanced AI that is more responsive in real time, that is all powerful.
Can you give me a real world example of quantum technology and how we've used it?
Honestly, Lindsay, from what I understand, it's still theoretical.
Is like GPS quantum technology?
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
it's just satellites.
Listen, it's kind of like the Supreme Court in porn, all right? It's hard to define, but, We all
But
know,
you know it
we
when
all
you
know
see
quantum
it.
technology when we see it.
Yeah, I love that.
Do we? Do we
That's
all-
obscenity,
No,
not
we
porn,
don't.
but that.
Close enough, Leah. Hey, you're the one who brought it up with the back of the movie store thing.
I'm so sorry. I'm just laughing.
Yeah.
A little bit what I read, and I want to be clear, when I read the article, like Taylor, I'm like, I have no idea. And I was sitting here thinking just thanking God that Lindsay, the professor, is asking the student for the answer.
Seriously.
Right.
I was
What
like,
is
I
it?
have no idea. But I did see it's a tech race with China, right? And so the answer is we are trying to make sure we don't fall behind because apparently China is so tech advanced compared to us. And I'm like, I've seen this film before, Sputnik, right? Like a little bit. It just feels like this is the stuff we do when we are worried about other countries taking the lead on stuff.
Yeah,
But
it's the future of AI,
Right.
And it's all encompassing with computing, with analysis, problem solving, mathematics, everything, especially military.
We have to wrap, but maybe it's, Governor Cox forward thinking, right? A little bit. He's trying to get ahead of some of the, the nuclear revolution and, this quantum technology and AI and things like that are really going to impact us in the future. So.
Is quantum quorum perhaps inappropriate? Is there religious overtones
You want
there?
quorum technology?
I don't
it's a
know.
better logo.
I just like
Quantum
the
quorum.
alliteration, the Q and the
QQ.
Q. Yeah. Anyway, workshop
Quantum
that.
quorum. I like the quantum council.
I do too.
I
That's
just
really
think that's
good,
really cool.
actually.
It needs like an Avengers logo.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's figure out what it is first, and then get a logo.
Taylor Morgan, Leah Murray, thank you for your thoughts and opinions today. We always appreciate it. And as always, watch Inside Utah Politics Sundays at 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. I got to be honest, this week is a rerun because I'm leaving town. I had my grandparents pass away, so I will be in Ohio this weekend celebrating their life. But they were remarkable people, so I'll be happy to do it. And then Inside Utah Politics airs on ABC4, so you can get caught up on all your past episodes. And we will see you next time.